BBC Radio Sussex.
Morning. It's going to be very cold today due to the wind's chill, but it should be quite a nice bright day, but really nippy. Taxi drivers in Brighton say they're being fined for leaving their engines idling in this freezing weather, despite assurances from the City Council they wouldn't. New rules came into force a week ago, which see people fined £40 if they leave their car idling on the street. But on this show last week, Tim Rokins, the Labour councillor in charge of the council's environmental committee, assured us it wouldn't apply to taxi drivers trying to keep warm.
This is all about how you enforce it, and I gave a very clear steer to the team at the time that we would not be issuing fines to taxi drivers who are sitting in a taxi rank, in sub-zero temperatures just trying to keep their hands warm. You have to apply some common sense and some human nature to how these things are implemented.
Councillor Rokins couldn't join us this morning, but I do have Andy Peters on the line, who chairs the Brighton Hove Cab Trade Association. Hi, Andy.
Good morning, Danny. How is your lovely warm studio?
Do you know what? For the first, they replaced the air, as you mention it, they replaced the air conditioning last year, and it now heats as well as cools. So it was always freezing in the winter, and actually it's not too bad today, if I'm honest with you. Sorry about that. You were surprised when we played that clip to you last week, because you hadn't heard that piece of news that it was okay for drivers to keep idling. That's right, isn't it?
Oh, that's absolutely right. We were really assured. I mean, last week it was very encouraging to hear that commitment from Councillor Tim Rokins that the council would not be applying the new engine idling policy to taxis on the rank. But now, Danny, it's really disappointing that despite that commitment, that in fact taxi drivers on ranks are actually being targeted. I had a phone call from a driver yesterday telling me he was on the rank in East Street at 6:30 in the morning, and you can imagine how cold it was. And he was issued with a penalty notice at 6:30 in the morning for running his engine while trying to keep warm.
Because there's some leeway here, because there's supposed to be a conversation between the warden and the driver, and you get, I think, a couple of minutes in which to turn off your engine if they really require you to. But can you tell us more about that conversation? What went on?
Well, that particular one, I'm told in good faith, he was actually issued a penalty notice, but I did have other drivers also contacting me saying that on the Friday and Saturday night they were being told to switch their engines off when on the rank. But again, it was really, really cold by, overzealous council officers. It's just ridiculous. Now, I put it to the council. I have a little rant here, if you don't mind. I put it to the council that it's caused more pollution with the cycle lanes between the West Pier and the failed I-360 that has caused considerable congestion along that stretch than some taxi drivers may do while having the basic right of trying to keep warm during this freezing period.
That's an interesting thought. I'll ponder that one, but I do take your point. So the jams, because that is now narrower that road along the seafront, causes more pollution than some taxis sit in the ranks. Okay, I'll take that point. It's an interesting one. But also, this is a communication issue, isn't it? Because Tim clearly said to us there that this wouldn't apply to taxis on rank. So is this just a kind of teething issue with the wardens knowing exactly the correct way to proceed?
Well, I had a driver who told me that he had a conversation with one of these officers, wardens, whatever you call them, and this chap had no idea whatsoever. And in fact, he actually played the audio recording, because I downloaded it and recorded it just because I thought this would actually happen. And he played that to the warden, and he had no idea at all. And he actually just left the rank and just went off to go and communicate more, because they haven't been told anything about that at all.
Right.
But I can tell you that local taxi drivers are so angry about this situation, Danny, that they are talking about boycotting East Street and West Street if this continues on like a Friday, Saturday night, which is where taxis are really needed at the weekend. So it's going to be an escalating situation. If the council want to start attacking taxi drivers, because they know how, we just had an Amber Alert this week because it's going to be so cold. But if these wardens are going to come out and they're going to start, targeting taxi drivers, turn off your engine to keep warm, the drivers are going to abandon those ranks and they're going to leave people there. So the council have got to be, got to have common sense, which is what I think Tim was quoted as actually saying.
Just a final point. We're told that some of the drivers had their windows open and some weren't even in their vehicle. So in that case, is it worth having that conversation? So everybody has got to play their part here, haven't they?
Well, yes, but I've also been told the opposite as well. I mean, this chap who was approached by the warden, he had his window up, and he was just trying to keep warm. So, yeah, there is common sense here at all. We know that. We absolutely know that. Now, can I just say that we have a taxi trade forum meeting in the town hall next month, and I've asked this to be put on the agenda with an invitation for Councillor Tim Rokins to attend, or somebody else to justify penalising taxi drivers who just want to get on with transporting people around the city.
Andy, thanks for now. Andy Peters, who chairs the Brighton Hove Cab Trade Association. Councillor Rokins, as I said, couldn't come on this morning, but he says, we take a common sense approach to enforcement, so there are exemptions, including those which take into consideration severe weather and for the health and safety of the driver or passengers. For example, enforcement would not apply to drivers who need their engines on to clear their windscreen, or to taxi drivers who are stationary at a taxi rank with their engines running in particularly cold weather and have no other means to keep warm. However, taxi drivers seen idling their engines while stationary at a taxi rank with their windows open or vacant from their vehicle would be expected to comply, since the defence of keeping warm would not apply. So that's one to